G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff Ukraine War update for the 29th of April 2026. Russia has advanced in Rodynske and Hryshyne and other areas on the map. They have taken a lot of territory in the last 48 hours. As we go now, as the war continues, I'll continue to bring the news, giving you my unique perspective on both sides of the war. I think it's important to know the truth so you can make informed decisions for yourself rather than listening to someone else who's obviously paid by Ukraine or just simply exploiting the fact that people feel sympathy for Ukraine, or because they hate Russia, or both. But I'm not going to... I think the truth matters. I think ultimately people who engage in clickbait, rage bait, whatever, they are going to fall flat in the face. They may get early success, but eventually they become so hated, so disliked, so unpopular, that it all becomes worthless in the end. Now, there was a large drone attack on Ukraine today. Both sides launched a few hundred drones at each other. Most did not get through. Russia's been hit in 2 areas, I think. Wait. Well, Ukraine says they did, but did not. Yeah. We know this one's old, but they sent more drones to, apparently, allegedly. They did send drones into Belgrade. All right, so as we go around the map, there are a couple of, Hryshyne, Kharkiv, the usual suspects in Sumy, although Sumy itself wasn't hit. We have some movement, some growth, I should say, some territory taken in the buffer zone. Same again here. The Kupiansk offensive has widened. The Russians on Kupiansk again. They are on Prechnikovia. They've taken territory along the whole frontier. Taken a bit of territory here. They have expanded a little bit here, not much. They are still holding at Lyman. They've taken a little bit of territory here at Seversk and a bit of territory north of Chavez Yar. They've taken a lot of territory at Kostakovia. As you can see, the big open field, I said, the Russians would come down the road. They did. Said it wasn't... I was surprised they've gotten closer to Kostakovia here. They've taken about half of Belosk. They are pushing in other areas. They have taken... they've overrun the Ukrainians at Rodynske. And, as you can see, they've overrun... as I said, Russians would cross the river down here and eventually fight their way up here, which they did. And they overran the Ukrainians at Hryshyne. And as I said, all the way through. Once Hryshyne falls, they go all the way through up to here. Does appear they stopped them here. I thought they'd stop them at Venenka. Though they did stop them at Venenka, they also stopped them here at... so the Ukrainians stopped the advance here and here in 2 places. They are still holding here, and they are still holding at Hryshyne, and still holding somewhat here, although the Russians have made some progress. And they have broken past the Ukrainians here to go around. They've made small advances here, and they are pushing back into Nova Britishka. Nova Britishka, I think. Again, the Russians have advanced here. They're closer to fake airfield. They have overrun a few Ukrainian positions along the front here. Most of these small areas, as you can see, there's one still holding out. Now in Zaporozhye, not much activity, but I'm sorry, not much advancing, but a lot of activity. They've a lot of fighting. This is, of course, of growing here, and they have from Hulapol. They're now in Rodynske. They're on the southern end and on the outskirts of Rodynske here. The Russians have overrun several Myrne as well. As you can tell by the title, 3 towns overrun. So, the Russian war machine is clearly the tactic of grinding is to continue. Now, when I said they changed tactics, the cauldron tactic is still continuing, of course. I see there's the icon underneath. Yes, second icon shows sometimes only on the map. They did attack it again today. Yes. Now, the tactic in the past, straight up cauldron lines, and they would forward, second line forward, third line forward, and hold. Now they are probe and attack, probe and attack, probe and attack, probe and attack, and then when they're worn out, then they just march in and occupy 1, 2, 3. So it's only a slight change. It's still the cauldron. It is mostly, however, rather than straight up cauldrons every time, it's only the really big targets they're cauldroning for a three-way attack. Most of their smaller targets is just straight up trench hopping, which is slightly different. So second line runs up past the first line, and then the first line backs up the second line, and the third line moves in where the first line was. So you have an increase in troop presence, and you have a fallback in which the exhausted troops immediately fall back to third, and the second line troops will return to second place, and the third line troops will be now front line. And that's how it goes. They're rotating and advancing, constantly keeping pressure on Ukraine. All of this, of course, is paid for by you. When I really appreciate each and every one of you. This is my merch store, the Empire of Elves, one word. Links in the description below. Fantasy themed, predominantly based on my book series. Now, Prince Charles claims America has not done enough for Ukraine. Oh, look, he's had his ears pinned back. Oh, isn't that nice? He had his hair cut too. Yeah, who cares what... I know what a lot of Americans are going to say. We have not cared about Britain's king for 250 years. But you really think America's done nothing for Ukraine? Really? Did you know Russia was getting a lot of its ammunition from Venezuela? Not anymore. A huge Russian ammunition plant was established in Venezuela. A couple of months ago, they bragged reaching 70 million rounds annually. Not anymore. So you think America doesn't do anything for Ukraine? How quaint. Now, a Ukrainian has been detained in Mariupol and sentenced to court for 26 years in a Russian penal colony for espionage. Now, this is claimed that back in 2022 denies Rodynske and Alexander Myrne established contact with representatives of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine while in Russian-occupied Mariupol. They have collected and verified information on various buildings while they're communicating with Russians, and claims they were used to pinpoint targets for Ukrainian bombs and missiles. The media cited BBC in Russia had covered the trial. The men were detained in 2023. They were only brought to trial recently. They were prisoners of war. They were given a trial. Technically, they could have been shot for espionage, but they were not. Apparently, they had somewhat of a plea deal. So another prisoner of war was also for participating in terror activities. This is about the. I believe this is the case about the shelling of Donetsk. They were captured in. Donetsk, I believe, and they were put on a military trial for shelling civilians. This is the marketplace. Remember the marketplace that in Donetsk where 136 civilians were killed by Ukrainians? Oh, that's right. Most of the media never covered it. You can look it up. It was actually covered by the BBC, but like all BBC stories, you don't see them in America. Most Americans would rather watch Fox than the BBC. Actually, liberals would actually prefer Fox to BBC. Even amongst liberals, they recognise that Fox News is more reliable. Israel has slammed Ukraine's Twitter diplomacy. Now, there's a war of words going on between Israel and Ukraine. Ukraine bought grain from Russia. Russia is a huge grain producer. I think they slipped from third to fourth. I'm not sure. I know they don't produce as much as Canada, but they are still a major exporter of grain. And Ukraine claims that they purchased grain that was stolen from Ukraine. Israel asked for proof, asked for backing up their words, and just got slinging matches. According to, remember, this is standard Ukrainian tactics. Ukraine asked Israel for the Iron Dome. Israel said no. All of a sudden, Israel's accused of buying stolen grain from Russia. This is what Ukraine does. This is what low IQ people do. They engage in smear tactics to pressure you to obey them, and they'll stop attacking you. It's like how they attacked Donald Trump, calling him all the names under the sun, and then say, oh, if you pass these bills for us, we will stop attacking you. The public needs to stop supporting this behaviour. Allegations are not evidence. Oh, according to the liberals, believe all women, believe all victims. The evidence is overwhelming that Russia is one of the largest grain producers in the world, and that Ukraine has a distinct problem with their grain, in that a lot of their grain is contaminated from years of pesticides and chemicals. See, under the Soviet Union, Ukraine was a major grain producer as part of the breadbasket of Eastern Europe. But they grew grain organically because Russia had a major problem with grain contamination, particularly. So they had tried to develop ways to keep grain longer and fungus free. So, and Ukraine is now using Western chemicals. So there'd be a distinct difference in the grain. And Russia's grain is more rye, wheat, barley than Ukraine's mixtures. So there are distinctions to be had. But this is the problem with the world. They don't stand up for truth. They stand up for politics. They stand up for their team no matter what. Yet they won't do that for their relationships. They'll do it for country. They'll put more effort into countries than their own people. Right? They'll stand up for black people, but never for their own country, which is ridiculous. And they keep standing up saying, we can stand up for historical injustices. Well, black people perpetrated slavery, so they're not innocents. There are wars and accusations going on right now. Most of it being ignored. Most of Ukraine is being ignored, as you can see by... Sputnik still maintains its Ukraine map, which we'll go have a look-see at right now. Putin's put out a bunch of speeches. Not bothering. Doesn't matter what he says, the West will ignore it. And you can see there's not much difference, right? One third is left. The only difference is, Russia shows a lot less bubbles on their attack. This is where Russia has attacked in the last 24 hours. Or attacked from. What's this? Battle group. Okay. Yeah. That, I think, is misplaced. Okay, you get occasional errors on these maps. But you can see that Russia has claimed to have overrun Kupiansk. Ukrainians dispute this. They are counterattacking. Russia. This map is 50-50, right? It's between the two. At some point, Kupiansk was attacked and overrun by the Russians. The Ukrainians have counterattacked. And it's somewhere between the two. There is fighting all right. And tomorrow we'll get a proper situation. The closer we get to a battle, the less information we get, remember? So this is an ongoing battle. This is an update of the last 24 hours. The ongoing battle is somewhere in here on the road as men and equipment pour in from two roads into Khrushchevia, with thousands of Ukrainians in various bunkers, positions and buildings throughout the rubble. Most of Khrushchevia is decimated. The Russians are holding just outside of artillery range. They have not advanced here past Brezhnok, but they are on the town here fighting. They are fighting pretty much most of the day and night along this entire front. As you can see, they started here yesterday and they've overrun the positions. The Ukrainians are fighting on, starting yesterday, clashes. They tell you a day ago, this is where the clashes started, right? So the Russians will attack half a dozen to a dozen towns and one of them will fall. That's the average. Now, sometimes they get more, sometimes they get less, but 3 in a day and so much territory taken in one day puts all the commentators on their back. You know, the Institute of War says can won't eat humble pie, of course, and admit they're wrong. But of course, they said, "Oh, the wind's gone out of the Russian advance. They're going to crumble soon." Nope, wrong again. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Really appreciate you all. See my growing audience. I really appreciate it. Is there any towns I missed? Because I really think there was more towns that fell today. Or position, but some of those positions I think were previously occupied by Russians, because there are areas where it goes backwards and forwards for weeks. So have I missed anything? I don't think so. But yeah, America taking out that ammunition plant does not seem to have affected Russians yet, but we'll see. 70 million rounds. I think that's a lot. A lot of that is export, but still, I bet you that will start to have a follow-on effect. Probably so. Well, we'll see. But please like, share, and subscribe, and please support the channel. In addition to my Shopify, you can support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy me merch, of course. See you in the next video. Bye for now.